You'll make it work, bro. Just
I'll make it work. Yeah, I believe in that. Like right now,
on the camera, dog.
right now I'm still like deciding.
Hello.
Hey,
Hi.
there we go. Point them out at like the dude we got. So it's gonna be a few minutes before we get like everybody in the room. Hi, I'm the guy running this.
Hey,
On that, yeah. So yeah, just I mean, chill for like 5-10 minutes. Wait for everybody to get here. 1 second.
This is nice.
Okay, what's up? Yes, that one. Go on that one. Let me know. Thomas, you know Edward Gostick right now?
Huh?
Do you know who Edward Gostick was?
No.
Because his brother goes to school in Boston. This is a dude from like a year under South Africa. His brother goes to school in Boston. I was thinking of like inviting him to this.
All right, we're ready to start whenever you are. Hello.
I saw this up last time.
I'm trying, John.
How about now? Got it?
Oh, there you go. All right.
Sorry, my fault. I was on mute. So my name is Richard Coffey. I'm a computer engineer based out of Atlanta, Georgia, and I work for a company called Flock Safety. We're a startup that does ML security cameras, and recently we've moved into audio ML as well. So in the context of license plate readers, gunshot detection, stuff like that. We've been a startup for about 5 years, and we just raised our Series E for $150 million, pending a $3.5 billion valuation. So we're growing pretty quick, and I guess so. Thomas told me that I'll just kind of talk about my background, and then you guys can ask questions or whatever you might want to do. Does that sound all right?
Yep, sounds great. Go for it, man.
Cool. So I kind of started in tech when I was in high school. I got a job at a startup. Somehow, luckily, doing QA engineering for another small startup in the town called Acton. And I'm sure you guys go to UMass Boston. You're probably familiar with Acton, Boxborough, maybe the Concord area out in the suburbs. And so that's where I started. I ended up getting hired back. I went to college at Clemson University for computer engineering. And I got hired back that summer to do kind of more core engineering, doing PHP, some XML, some XLST, which is the translation language for XML. And then from there, I did some small jobs at Clemson. I did some data visualization for the toxicology department there. I was a system administrator for one of the more techie buildings, kind of like a collaboration building that had gotten recently built. And then my senior year of college, I got an internship at a company that did IoT communications. So we worked with very low power, low latency devices, basically kind of like disposable devices that you could slap on to a pallet or put in any sort of device to do on-demand tracking. And the reason that was exciting was because it was a super small startup. It was about 8 people when I joined, and our IP was really, really good. We could basically keep a TLS connection open indefinitely, which I don't know how much you guys know about TLS, but basically you have to, every time you open up a TLS connection, you have to do a handshake, which takes about 3,500 bytes of data. And so that kind of adds up when you're connecting over and over again, checking in. And so we could basically keep that connection on indefinitely at a power level of microamps. And the initial handshake would be like 300 bytes. So that was a big deal for a lot of these cell phone companies that were really interested in keeping connections open indefinitely, really low power devices. And so I ended up working there after college. It was really fun working in that kind of environment. It was super quick. And then I worked there for about 2 years. And then ever since then, I've worked at Flock Safety, which is where I am now. Yeah, that's my background. Anything else, guys?
Did you say that you're working with like improving TLS connection or something different? Like which was the one that like required the that like virtual handshake?
Yeah, so that was my first company that I worked for out of college. And so what that was is typically with the TLS handshake, there's a certain way you do an asynchronous encryption connection, kind of like a handshake to say, hey, this is an encrypted provision of these two devices to connect, and then from there you generate what's called a session key, and you do a synchronous connection. And the reason why you move to a synchronous connection is because it's a lot stronger in terms of what's it called, like the ability to break it. You can't break a synchronous connection if it's like 2048 characters long. Like that'll take forever. Even with quantum computers, it would take forever. But by the nature of asynchronous connections, if you can find prime pairings fast enough, which quantum computers are really, really good at, you can break those pretty quick. And so the value add that we offered at that company was we had a proprietary handshake mechanism that allowed us to keep a TLS connection open without having to say, hey, we're here which is called a wake up timer. It was somewhat complicated, but we essentially nixed the wake up call, which is 50 bytes sent back and forth about every 30 seconds. And we just kept a connection open forever, which it was pretty cool stuff. I did end up leaving that company because, like a lot of small companies, we just didn't grow fast enough. A lot of the owner really wanted to keep his stake in the company. He had he owned whatever 50% of it, and he didn't want to dilute his shares by taking on additional capital, which is a common problem that you see in startups. But at some level, you kind of have to get some more money, and you have to hire more people. We were 8 engineers, and 8 engineers just isn't a very valuable company, no matter how cool your engineering is. And so we loved working on the stuff that we loved doing, but we had to sell it to someone in order to be an actual company, And so the reason I left is because they just weren't willing to hire those salespeople, those marketing people to kind of push us into a profitable company.
Okay.
And I guess to elaborate, now I work on that company kind of pushed me into the networking space. So cellular modems, low power IoT stuff. That's where my main field lies right now. That's what I do for my current startup. And so you'll see me working at a lot of C. As a computer engineer, I did circuits in college and electrical stuff. And this is the computer science club, so, or the computer science something. But I gravitated more towards software. Power grids are really complicated and they're really big and not my thing. So I ended up gravitating more towards software, Python, C. That's where my main interests lie, and that's what I'm probably most good at.
What was your process for finding your first internship?
Sure, yeah. So what was my process of finding my first internship? So in my opinion, I think that you should try and get into a position where you can do tech stuff, paid work to be part of a tech company as soon as possible. And that might not be your dream internship. When I was in high school, that tech job that I got, it was a QA engineer. And so what a QA engineer does is that they don't do much coding, they don't do much bug finding at all, really. They really just test the stuff that the actual engineers do. And so while I know I didn't want to do that, I knew that that was a pretty good foothold for getting in and being kind of a contributor to a professional environment. And in my opinion, that's the most important thing that you can have when you're applying for internships and applying for jobs, is that if you have a proven track record of being a professional, of being someone that people can work with on a day-to-day basis, of contributing to a code base, then that's way more valuable than an individual project, to some degree. The reason why people with experience get that benefit is because they know, people who are hiring know that they're a functioning member of a team. And so when you're looking for your first internships, I'd say just try and get whatever you can. If it's a system administrative job, if it's, working with debugging some systems for AV, stuff like that, anything to kind of get your foot in the door and get more familiar with an area that you're interested in, I would take it. And then from there, you can always switch. And that definitely applies as well to jobs in the future. When you get your first job out of college, if you love the company that you're working for, get your foot in the door there, and then you can kind of expand, because all companies are willing to put in the time to teach you and to grow your career in a direction that you're most interested in, especially now when jobs are so, when they're hiring, when people are hiring, a lot.
Anyone else got any questions to ask? All right.
Anything you guys want to know about work or anything like that?
All right, I think that seems like it, actually.
Cool.
So, you can say if you want, dude, by all means, we're gonna probably bump into the next guest speaker, which means I'm gonna take down the Zoom link. Hi. So I'm just gonna point this at our next speaker, who is Chris.
Charles.
Shit, Charles, my bad, dude.
Charles, all right.
Shit, long day. All right.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for coming, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Charles, you can hook up what you want, Charles. Camera's directly on you. Plug that in. It should take a second to connect. A brief introduction to Charles. He's a junior, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I'm a senior.
Okay, he's a senior. He's in a program with the Coast Guard, which has a lot of like cool incentives and programs behind it, and he's going to talk a little bit about that.
Yes, okay. So. Okay. So my name's Charles. I'm a senior. I'm in my last semester. And for the last 2 years, I have been in a scholarship job contract thing at UMass Boston called C-SPY with the United States Coast Guard. So a couple quick facts. UMass Boston is the only school in Massachusetts or New England that's eligible for this scholarship. This is a full ride for your second 2 years. So junior and senior year, completely paid for, tuition, fees and all that. In addition, you're going to get paid a salary while you go to school, about $50,000 a year. In addition to your tuition being paid, you're going to get a stipend on top of that for books, and you have a guaranteed job out of college. You're required to keep the Coast Guard 3 years after you get out. It's not a lot considering what you're getting sort of financially. So it's called C-SPY, College Student Pre-Commissioning Initiative. I've got 15 minutes, so I'm going to break this up into 3 parts. Part 1 is going to be what is the Coast Guard. Part 2 is going to be what is this scholarship. Part 3 is going to be about my sort of experience. So the Coast Guard, I don't know if most people don't really know what the Coast Guard is. It's one of the branches of the armed forces. It doesn't fall under the Department of Defense. It's part of the Department of Homeland Security. And whereas the Army, the Navy, whatever, the job is mainly to wage war, kill bad guys. Coast Guard does not have war as its primary purpose. Coast Guard does a lot of humanitarian missions, search and rescue. If you fall off your boat in the middle of the water and you're just treading water there, the Coast Guard sends a helicopter or a boat to come help you. Coast Guard enforces a lot of environmental laws, cleans up oil spills, fishing laws, drug interdiction, migrant interdiction. These are actually there's 11 of these missions. Coast Guard does a lot of other stuff. Drug interdiction is an enormous thing. They chase these cigarette boats going off the, bringing in cocaine and heroin and all things off of the South American coast. They do a huge, if you guys remember the BP oil spill in the coast in the Gulf of Mexico about 10 years ago, that was an enormous thing. The Coast Guard was hugely involved in that. You can't overstate the amount of damage that these enormous oil spills are going to do to the marine environment. And the Coast Guard is basically responsible for that. So that's just those are a few of the basics of what the Coast Guard does. It's a branch of the armed forces in the sense that it's a uniform service. You wear a uniform, you attend military style trainings, boot camps and stuff, but the mission is humanitarian. The mission is not about going off to wage war. So next part, what does this have to do with computers? Why am I here for the Computer Science Club? The Coast Guard now is expanding very rapidly a cybersecurity sort of domain. So one of the things you see here listed on these things is ports and waterway security. That's another huge one. So the Coast Guard is in charge of making sure nobody blows up bridges and dams and canals and stuff, okay? In the past, that was more about security, making sure their gates don't have any holes in them and, checking for stuff like that. Nowadays, canals, ports, bridges, stuff are run with computers. The Coast Guard needs cybersecurity people to manage the maritime transportation system, which is the huge international system that runs the shipping industry. Okay, ports, bridges, canals, and things. Think about the Panama Canal. Think about how bad it was when that boat got stuck in the Suez Canal. Right, these canals are all run by computers these days. So they are rapidly expanding the cybersecurity section of the Coast Guard, and they're rapidly recruiting people. That's part of where this program comes in. Is part of its purpose is to recruit computer people for the U.S. Coast Guard to help manage the maritime transportation system. A lot of people wanted to get into cybersecurity. A lot of people in CS want to do that. They find that it's hard to get in. You've got to work your way up. You've got to start out at the help desk doing IT. It's hard to get up there. If you do something like this is something that lets you get your foot in the door. You can do incident response and penetration testing with the Coast Guard right from the start. Right after you graduate college, they're going to put you into a cyber position. You're going to get sent to top industry certification things. I don't know if you guys have heard of SANS Institute. It's a top, very expensive, like civilian certification thing for cybersecurity professionals. Coast Guard sends its people there for free to train them up to work on like super critical American infrastructure. So that's a little bit about the Coast Guard and sort of why I'm here for the CS Club. Next thing is this program. It's called College Student Pre-Commissioning Initiative. And I'm just going to blow through a little bit about what this is. So again, UMass Boston is the only school in Massachusetts, or as far as I know, New England, that's eligible for this program. Not only is it the only school that's eligible in the area, UMass Boston has a special relationship with the Coast Guard they just opened up, where now there's a guaranteed spot for somebody from UMass Boston to go there. If 0 people apply, that spot is yours, right? They have to take 1 person. At least that's my understanding. Maybe if you're really, really ineligible, they won't take you. But my understanding is they've got to take 1 person. Not a lot of people know about this. Not a lot of people are applying. So again, anybody who's a freshman or a sophomore, this is really for you. You get your second 2 years of college paid for. You're going to get paid about $50,000 a year on top of your tuition being paid for. You get a guaranteed job doing cybersecurity if you want, but there's a lot of other opportunities as well for 3 years after you graduate. This is the application process. I'm not going to talk about that too much right now. Here's a few of the other things. Yeah, in the Coast Guard, you get 30 days paid vacation. You get tuition, fees, books, everything paid for. You can get a security clearance, which is also huge if you're going to be doing cybersecurity. Guaranteed job, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Oh, there's SLRP too. So if you're already beyond freshman, sophomore year, you can sort of do it in reverse and get loans paid back. But that's a sort of a different issue. But that's an option as well if you want. So break down the program a little bit. You'd apply in your sophomore year. You get accepted in between sophomore and junior year. You're going to go to boot camp. It's 8 weeks, getting yelled at, push-ups and stuff. There's a picture. It's in Cape May, New Jersey. That's really hard, but it's sort of a life-changing experience. Some physical fitness requirements. All right, that's a boat. So in between sophomore and junior year, you go to boot camp. Junior year, you go to school. They leave you alone for the school year so you can get your work done. And you have to work for them 4 hours a week. At the Coast Guard, you do different things, go on inspections, go on boats and get tours of stuff. In between junior and senior year, you're going to spend time doing more. You give them your summer break, you work full time, and you're going to be doing something related to what you want to do. I did it during COVID, so I didn't get to go to Washington, D.C. to do cyber stuff. They put me on a boat instead. I spent about a month living on a ship. This is the Coast Guard Cutter Spencer. I spent a month living on that boat in like a sardine can. You can get a lot of cool experiences. Like, I don't know if that appeals to everybody, but I thought it was pretty cool. It's just this big ass boat. You live on it for about a month. If you don't want to live on a boat, you can probably spend that summer doing something more connected to your career. If you want to do cybersecurity, you can go down to Washington, D.C. I know some people that got to do that because, you know, they're lifting the coronavirus restrictions, so you can probably get more opportunities for that. Okay. After that summer, you go back to school, you do your senior year. After your senior year, you go to what's called OCS, Officer Candidate School. It's like a 17-week boot camp. It's much longer. But you graduate and you're a commissioned officer in the Coast Guard, which is a very, something that not a lot of people get to do. Usually to be a commissioned officer in the Coast Guard, you got to go through the Coast Guard Academy, which is very, very difficult admissions to get into. This is sort of a backdoor to become a commissioned officer in the Coast Guard. This is the Coast Guard Cutter Eagle. Another thing you'll do at OCS is you'll spend about, I think, 2 or 3 weeks on this giant sailboat. I haven't done that yet. The other guy in Sea Spy, his name is Hong. He's a physics major. He's on that boat right now. So one aspect that made me want to do this is just you get a lot of like really unique experiences. I haven't done this yet, but I think that's going to be pretty interesting. It's really tough. I know you don't just, it's not a cruise. you've got to like run the boat and you're like a slave on the boat running it for a little while. That's what I was told at least, but okay, you just get a lot of cool experiences like that if you're into that. These are some of the officer career options. I know I'm talking to the computer science club, but aviation, this is also a really good way to be a Coast Guard pilot. If you ever want to fly helicopters, probably not what this crowd wants, but a lot of people want to do that. Float, you live on a boat. Response, prevention, this is pollution management stuff. Engineering is engineering. This is more logistic stuff. This is stuff we're talking about, the cybersecurity stuff. And then this is staff assignments, which are boring. All right, that was the slideshow. So I'm going to talk a little bit about just what I've done so far, or if anybody has any questions, I'll leave a little time for that too. So basically for me personally, this was a really like, you know, the best decision I made in my life. Like this completely signing up for this, and I sort of signed up on a whim, and then I got it. And then I was like, I got the call and they're like, okay, you're in. If you accept, you can like pack your stuff and you go to boot camp in like 2 weeks, and then you're on this track. You know, you've got the rest of your college time laid out, and then 3 years after that. And it was a huge commitment. But I just looked at it and I looked at like the financial package and the stuff I'll get to do. And I was like I got accepted at this point. How can I say no? And it was an amazing experience. It's really tough. Like there's the slide for boot camp. Boot camp is not a joke. You know, it's really tough. It's 8 weeks. You can get held back. You know, the other boot camps, Army, Navy, Marine Corps don't do that. If you screw up, there, you know, at other boot camps you do push-ups or whatever, but here they'll be like, oh, you screwed up, your boots aren't shiny enough, you're here for another week. We're gonna send you back a week. And that can just keep happening until you give up. That happened to me twice. It happened to a ton of people. Minimum 8 weeks, potentially more. I'm just being real. A lot of it's really tough, but it's life-changing potentially. You got OCS. That's where I'm going this summer. It's like that again, but a little bit longer. It's 17 weeks long. Let's see. I've got some pictures. I got to spend some time at the station in Newburyport. So they've got these boats. You can't see it too great. These are the 47-foot motor lifeboats. These things go out in 50-foot waves. I didn't go out in 50-foot waves. I'm not allowed to do that. But you meet a lot of really crazy guys that have done a lot of really crazy stuff and have you get to have some cool experiences yourself, but you talk to people that have, you know, chased down drug runners off of Venezuela, people that have been in these 50-foot seas. This boat is designed so that if it flips over 180 degrees, it rights itself in a minute. So if you drive it from the outside right up here. So if the boat flips over, you just hold your breath. You just hold your breath for a minute and just trust that it comes back up. And those things go out and they rescue people in, you know, in insane conditions. And you just get to meet a lot of really, really crazy people that sign up to do stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know if anybody has any questions about sort of the computer aspect of it. I'd recommend this to somebody who wants to do something really unique, somebody that's not super excited about just going to software engineering. You want to do something different. You want to do some cool stuff over your summer breaks, or if you want to do cybersecurity, this is a good way to get your foot in the door. I think through the government, it's probably the best way to get direct cybersecurity experience. Private sector is a little harder to start out there. So, yep.
Just an observation. There's definitely a bigger Coast Guard presence in New Bedford, because I think they've been trying to like work on digitizing the security, especially around like the hurricane type stuff. If you know about that, it's just this huge like stone wall or well, like rock wall that like I guess like protects like the coast of that. But like I don't know if you knew anything about like the improvements made to like New Bedford.
I don't know anything about what they're doing in New Bedford. Sorry.
It's interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I think it's really interesting, at least. Yeah. Yeah.
So what year of college did you apply?
So I applied in my sophomore year. That's generally when you apply, because this covers your junior and senior year.
Right.
Generally, you apply sophomore year. You go to boot camp between sophomore and junior year, and then you're in the program from junior and senior year. You can do the 1-year program. You can apply as a junior and then do just senior year, but in that case, you only get 1 year paid for. You know, you're allowed, you can do that, but you only get half as much tuition paid for, so.
So besides cybersecurity, what other kind of options for software people are there?
So the Coast Guard doesn't hire a lot of like software developers. They do, but they're contractors. Like if they need somebody to build like their website, they don't have a guy in uniform do it. They hire some contractor do it. There's a lot of, so if you do this program, you're not locked into any officer fields. You can do whatever you want. You can do prevention, pollution response. You can go live on a boat. You can go be a pilot. As far as computers go, there's really 2 paths in the Coast Guard. You can do cyber, or you can do C5I, which is like IT. So C5I, if you're interested in doing like help desk work for the US Coast Guard, you can. I don't think that appeals to a ton of people because you can do help desk work for anybody. You don't have to go through all this additional stuff to be help desk. But yeah, as far as computers go, it's either cyber, which is really cool, or help desk, which is less cool, and you can do it somewhere else if you want. So, yeah.
During training and stuff, do they set you up somewhere or like, or would you doing the training like DC and stuff? Or during the summer stuff, like do they set you up there when you're like you have a friend who's in DC right now? Or no, sorry. You said it's possible to go to DC.
Yeah.
And so like when you're working there, like over the summers and stuff, like they set you up there.
Yeah, it's like being an intern. So the program, so while you're in this program, you're an enlisted E3 in the Coast Guard, right? You're eligible to go on temporary duty to whatever unit. The program sets you up and they send you to DC or wherever, and you're like an intern. You wear a uniform every day. You come in and they have you do whatever. I don't know what they have these guys do when they go to DC. When I was on the boat, they had you do like what's called non-raid work, like basic work. You paint stuff, you sand things down. Like it's like you're a kid right out of boot camp. I don't know what they have you do in DC for the people that go to cyber.
The one question more like they like set you up with a place to live, or you living on a.
Oh yeah, everything is, the one thing about being in the military is that all that stuff's covered. Like they get you your plane ticket to go down there. They get you a place to live. If you were like when you're at school, you live on your own wherever you are. You go, they give you money to buy an apartment or whatever. If you're gonna go be at a unit over your summer, they're gonna put you probably in like barracks, which is like a dorm room, or you might have a roommate. But they take care of you that way. If you go to DC for a month, you're not gonna have to find your own place. They'll find you a place. They set everything up that way. So yeah, is that it? Yep.
One more small question. I don't know. I don't know if you mentioned before, but like the qualified like degrees for this, like said CS.
Yeah.
One physics major. You mentioned.
That's a good question. So there's no degree requirement. You can have any major. You're much more likely to get in if you have a STEM major, or particularly one that they want. When I applied to this, had really bad grades. I did not have great grades, but I had a computer science major, and that's what they want. If computer science majors are something that they really want, I can't guarantee if you also have good grades or bad grades, you'll get in, because it changes year to year. But if you're a theater major, you're probably not going to get in. But CS, your odds are much better. The physics kid from last year was physics and engineering, and he got in. So CS, I think, increases your odds a lot. It's the sort of thing that they're looking for. But I do know people that have like liberal arts majors that are in the program. So, it's more or less competitive year to year.
How many kids are in the program from like UMass Boston, as far as you know?
Right now, there's only 2.
Two?
There's only 2 of us from UMass Boston right now who are in this.
So that's like low competition for UMass Boston, relatively speaking.
I don't know how many people applied last year, but yeah, like, to be honest, it's considering like what you get, it's not that hard to get into. There's a commitment, right? You've got to be, I think not a ton of people applied because it's a big commitment. You're committing 2 years of college, going to all these trainings, going to boot camp and stuff, it's hard. And then you commit to 3 years of working for the Coast Guard after you graduate. It's a big commitment. Not a lot of people graduate, or not a lot of people apply, but it's there, like you can have it. It's not that hard to get into. If you're willing to make that commitment, you don't have to be a star to get it. You have to be able to follow through and to do it. So yeah, the competition is not that fierce.
Any other questions? All right. Talk to you. And then next person up is going to be Akshay Dupaguntla, friend of mine from Northeastern. Want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So hi everyone, I'm Akshay. I'm a second year at Northeastern University studying computer science. Oh, I just realized. Oh, shoot. Hold on. Don't have an adapter.
Great.
I'll be good. Oh, everything goes, yeah.
Those about pamphlets and stuff. Anybody wants to post our pamphlet?
He's on Discord, he's Char. I think we gave him a shout out.
Yeah, I'm Char on Discord. Yeah, if you guys want to talk to me also, yeah. Let's see.
Okay.
I'm the only person in this. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a color.
Oh, color.
Yeah.
So,
guys,
coloring.
Yeah, exactly. The guy comes from high school, thinks that's it, well, water bottle. Oh, that's. That's up to you.
If you were.
I want to use it. Wait, was a picture? Oh, wait, I see a picture.
After it's done well.
No, wait. I saw a picture of you. Hey.
Half of this is irrelevant.
Are you gonna mix in the Walsh Middle School Dash Robotics Club?
No, I
No,
You want a whistle or a pen? Yeah. Yeah, if you want more. Want to follow? Oh, yes, you got it.
Coasty swag.
I'll hook you guys up.
All right, so moving to my man Akshay.
All right then. Yeah, so hey everyone, I'm at Chewy Co-op right now. I started in January, and but the plan is for me to work at Chewy for 6 months. I'm currently trying to get an extension with them for 2 months. We can see how that goes. But yeah, I'm currently working there as a full stack developer. And I guess before I get there, why did I choose Chewy? So this was early fall where competition was really heavy for co-ops and such. So one of the options that was available to me was Chewy. And I chose Chewy because of the work culture there. It's really nice. I can get more into that later. But the work culture is nice, and they actually give you a lot to do and work on. It's like you're working as a software developer instead of you're given a project and that's what you're doing for the next 6 months. So a bit more about my job. So I work on the promotions team. Essentially what it is I have a sample item on here on the Chewy page. Actually, before I get into that, does anyone not know what Chewy is? Okay. Okay. So Chewy is an online pet store company. So they like Petco, PetSmart, they sell products online. What differentiates them from other companies is they have great customer service. Like it's easy to get in touch to them, resolve things. And like one special thing about them is like if your pet dies or not, they'll send you a painting essentially. Like if you let them know that, hey, my pet passed away and I'm not doing well, they'll actually send you a pet painting. So that's something cool about them. But yeah, so essentially they're a pet company that has a lot of cool things going on with them. So I work on the promotions team, and what I do is on certain items you see a discount. So like here, there's this green bar that says spend $100, get $15 e-gift card. So basically my job is making these promotions work. And it's a very complex process, a lot more complex than you may think it would be, but that's what I'm currently working on. So let me think, where can I go from here? So what I'm working on currently is there is a admin page that that is being used to create these promotions, right? And one of the things that that's not great about the page is that it's really complex to use. So like for example, there are these so many rules that you may be able to use. And like for a new user that's trying to use this admin page, it's really difficult to understand. You have to read a lot of documentation. It may take a few hours or so. And only after that, you're able to create the page. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm allowed to show anything of what I'm working on based on Chewy policy, but I can still talk about it. So the admin page that I'm working on has a lot nicer UI. It's easier to understand what things you're doing to make the promotion itself. And from the feedback I've gotten from the people that are using it, which is a different team, they've given good feedback on. So that's one of the main things I'm currently working on. That's mostly front-end development. So I'm using React, JavaScript, HTML, CSS, that type of things. And that's what I'm doing on the front-end side. So I'm also doing back-end related things. So one of the biggest issues going on the promotions team is that our database is getting really big. For example, the number of coupon codes that are being generated are at 2 billion codes. Yes, John?
Question, SQL or no SQL?
SQL.
Cool.
Yeah. So the number of promotion codes are getting into the billions at that point. And because of that, our latency is getting really large. I think it's like 150, 200 milliseconds, which is not good at all. Ideally, we're down into below 100, ideally around 50 milliseconds. So one of the jobs I've been working on is trying to make sure that the database is a lot quicker. So basically scaling down the database. So I've been working on a number of scripts to actually clean up the database so that the promotion services actually run a lot quicker and that it's easier to meet the goals that were given to us, because sometimes we're given requirements that we have to do this job within a certain amount of time, and having a database that's a lot quicker will help us do that. On top of that, there are other smaller pieces of work I work on. Again, I'm working like a software developer. So every now and then I'm given smaller tasks to work on as well. So the benefits of working at Chewy, I guess, is the work culture. As I briefly mentioned, you get to work with a lot of people. I guess the people I work on with my team are now I consider as my friends. We've gotten really close, and I've learned a lot from them. So coming into this co-op, I really had no work experience, I guess. Like I've only worked on maybe some personal projects or just worked on stuff from classes. But they've really helped me get up to speed, and because of them, I'm able to do what I'm doing now. Another thing is it's easy. I mean, it's really easy to get talk to people. So like you can easily say something on Slack, which is our messaging system. Hey, can I talk to you? I want to learn about something. I want to get to know more about your system and whatnot. And it's really easy to get to talk to them. And finally, it's really not that stressful of an environment, to be honest. You can easily extend your time on how on the things you're working on, and they're really lenient on how long you take. Of course, you're trying to get things done by a certain goal. Like we're working on a quarterly system, so I have things due at the end of April, but they're really lenient on if you're not able to get this done, don't worry about it. We'll move it up a deadline and try to get done by then. So some other things about Chewy, there are pets in the office, well, more specifically dogs, that you can always interact with them and whatnot. So every day there's usually 3 to 4 dogs in the office that we usually get to hang out with. It's really fun. There's a dog park on the top level of the office, and you usually see a lot of dogs there. There's a lot of other things, entertainment activities you can do. There's a ping pong table. There's 2 gaming rooms. foosball table. There's a master kitchen with a lot of snacks that are usually full. Like, it's a great working environment, and that's one of the best things about Chewy, I would say. So that I can get to this. So again, why do a co-op or an internship, I guess? So I've learned a lot, as I briefly mentioned. There's a lot of technologies that I've learned about, like React, Spring, which is Java framework. I've worked with AWS, Kotlin, which is basically a better version of Java, I would say.
Yeah, it's used for Android Studio.
Sorry?
Kotlin element. It's used for Android Studio.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So we use Kotlin, Jenkins. So like all of these systems that I probably haven't worked with as much, I've gotten a lot of experience out of. So you learn a lot, you get relevant experience on what you learned in school. I've applied what I've learned, I guess, from my object-oriented class, design classes, or
If you intern, are you able to like use that internship to start a tech startup though? Because I'm trying to like start my own tech startup and try to hire intern though.
so if you work it, you start, like you get a lot of relevant experience that, sure, you can do your own tech startup if that's what you say. Yeah. So you get a lot of relevant experience. You meet a lot of great people, and a big thing is you get a leg up on everyone else. A lot of companies look for these internships or co-ops that people have done because it tells them that, hey, you've been able to work at a company and do a lot there, and like you get a better chance at landing at that job. So for Chewy especially, after the co-op, they usually give return offers for full-time job afterwards. I know one person on my team that has done that. He worked as an intern, and then right after he graduated, he got offered a full-time job. And obviously with internships and co-ops, you get paid. I'd say Chewy does offer a good amount of compensation for what you do, and I feel like yeah, I'm earning a good amount from it. Otherwise, I don't think I have anything else to add about Chewy. Does anyone have any questions?
Chewy is like the pet food I got declined from the internship though.
You got declined? Oh, okay. They usually take in about, for at least for co-op wise, they took in 16 co-ops. So that's a ton of co-ops. For interns, I believe they're starting to ramp up more with interns because my term has been the first year that they've been offering so many positions, and same thing for interns for summer and the following co-op season. So I don't know, when did you apply?
Kind of in limbo though. Because I thought the co-op require you to know programming though.
Right, yeah, you do need to know programming, but if you're doing CS classes here, right, that should easily be enough, I would say. I know a lot of people from different schools that are have applied for internships and got them.
I learned programming when I was young though, by the way.
Yes, yeah, sure.
Okay, so I understand, so like for Northeastern, you guys have co-op periods where you start in school and go work.
Yep.
Does Chewy offer strictly like summer opportunities?
Yeah, they do, yeah. I believe this summer has closed, unfortunately,
Can you
but
help me
yeah,
transfer to
there is
NAU
of course
though?
summer internships for the following summer, yeah.
Besides full stack, where there's CS opportunities in your opportunities.
I mean, you don't necessarily have to do full stack. You can say you specifically want to work as a front-end developer or a back-end developer. There are some like DevOps opportunities you have as well. I think they're trying to get into data science as well. So if you're interested in data science, there's that as well. So
Hello,
yeah. Oh,
Chris, okay, yeah, I'll be quick, don't worry.
Chris White to sleep.
And so regarding like how the teams and stuff are structured at Chewy's, like how many teams are working on a specific part of like the Chewy website? Like if you're one team working on one feature.
so there's probably very few teams working on the actual Chewy website. There are a lot of teams on the background stuff, like what I'm doing, right? The promotion stuff. So I'm on the background stuff. So there's that thing. There's like a pricing team, like figuring out what the prices are for each item, right? There's that thing. There's like a health section. There's a health section. There is I'm trying to think what else there are. Yeah, that's what I can think of on the top of my mind right now, but there are different things. I mean, a lot of different teams. just a few of them work on the actual website.
Hello,
Yes.
how easy is it to go to NEU though? I want to transfer to that school for computer science though. Not Boston,
I'm gonna be honest,
like
I
I
have no
have too
clue.
much ambition.
I honestly have no clue, I'm gonna be
Admissions
honest.
rate's really, really low.
Yeah,
right
at this
now.
point-
My brother's applying to colleges.
My brother got there first.
Yeah, it's super low right now. It's like Ivy level.
Yeah, because, yeah. All right, any other next questions?
Who actually interviewed a Mr. I had to talk to like some psychologists and stuff like that. Like some AASP people who helped me boost up my level because I was being fucked up when I was young though.
I don't know, I think you'd have to reach out to like Mission Ambitions.
No. Like who was in the meeting before this guy though?
Oh, we had Coast Guard, and then we had a guy doing computer vision and computer hearing with a security company.
Security company.
Yeah, security company, he's doing computer vision.
Surveillance.
All right, any other next questions? All right.
Cool. Thanks, everyone.
I'm very sorry for speaking people.
Yeah, the last one.
I can't remember the report.
I might, oh, what?
You guys want to talk to me about the postcard thing? I CHAR on Discord.
Okay.
Sean.
And he just.
I know you're on the
I already had like
cover.
background information. He was like, no, that's.
Yeah.
Is that the only way to find my phone?